Good morning, world. Maria here, alive and kicking. Welcome to Awaken with Meria and Monnica, where today we're going to be talking about if you're feeling stuck, what you can do about it. Good morning, Monica.
Hey Maria, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Monica, just a little bit about yourself because we do have some new listeners.
Okay.
I want to first of all give them out your name, Monnica Sepulveda. Her website is Monica with two N's. There's a live link here, monica.com. Monica, how long have you been working your spiritual practice?
I started professionally on May the 15th. It'll be 47 years. I started receiving messages as a medium in, 1962. I was 11 years old. So, I had to study and get my ordination done. I had studied with a metaphysical church and with it's all spiritual work. It's not like, it's a non-denominational.
Right.
So I studied metaphysics at a very young age. And plus I don't know how this happens, but it's interesting. I always say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And back in the day, the teachers were not people. They were really books that just came into my hands. So I found a lot of them that were written in like 1920s, 1930s, 1940s. Florence Shin was one of the first books I read, The Game of Life and How to Play It. And she was a metaphysician back in her day. So, what I was getting is these books. And then in 1969, I found a teacher in Saratoga, California, and we used to take classes every Tuesday night. And it was through her that I studied for 3 years, and I got ordained a minister with the Metaphysical Church. And then I started my practice full-time, and not full-time, it was part-time, then I went full-time. So I love what I do still. I've been doing it for so long, but I wouldn't do anything else.
Right. Well, I totally agree. That's for sure. And listen, back in the day, it was hard to find any teachers.
You couldn't.
No, I mean,
and if you found books, like they said, they just kind of showed up and like, oh my gosh, look at this book.
Right.
So I still have them. And I have the original copies from the 1920s. Now they've been, copywritten and not copywritten, but they've been, how they every year or every few years they rewrite.
Right.
What's that called?
They update them. We'll call it they update them.
When they update them and they say, original printing was 1927 and now it's been, released again in 1940 or whatever. But I have all the original stuff, but you can also get anything from Florence Shin. She wrote 4 books. Amazing. Mm-hmm. The Wisdom of Florence Shin. You can get it on Amazon for like $16. And each of her books were like maybe 60 pages long. But back in the day, they didn't write long books, like, 300, 400, 500-page books. They kept them, and they went right to the point.
Right. Well, that's the way I like it. Little chapbooks. That's what we call them. Little chapbooks. So
yeah.
60 pages or less.
And you get the same amount of quality and information that you need.
Well, anybody that's seen my books, I mean, they know that's the case. I want to cut it down to make it as quick and understandable as possible because, when people, sometimes I get so many submissions for the show and, the book's got a great message on the front cover, but then it's got to take them 500-600 pages to tell you what it is. And when I look at them, I'm like, well, they could have done this in 100 pages.
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm working on my book again. After moving everything. And so I'm looking at how many pages there are. I'm on chapter 12. Mm-hmm. And it's like, wow, it's going to have a lot of content, but at least it's got content of things that you can use.
Right.
So I teach everything I know in it, so it will be probably like 200, 300 pages long. So.
Oh, that'll be good.
It's a reference book, so.
Right. Well, you do, similar work to me, but different work than I do. I counsel like you. I counsel a lot of people. I teach, I put a lot of people on the right track, but, sometimes people just, and I will say over the past few months, I've probably talked to more depressed people than ever before.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly right.
People that just seem to wake up depressed, they question why they're alive, what do I do, what do I look forward to, and it's almost like a contagion.
But that's also a very good sign because it means that you're ready for a breakthrough if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Right, exactly. But a lot of times I'll tell them, are you really depressed or are you just sad? There's a difference.
Yeah, but I've noticed it's been deep depression. Mm-hmm. And I thought, We need to show people how to get unstuck because, well, I'm called a solution-oriented intuitive therapist. That's kind of lengthy, but yeah, there you have it.
Right.
It's on my website, as a matter of fact, but I do more medium work than anything else.
Right. So if anybody wants to talk to their dear departed, you're the girl to talk to.
Yeah, I mean, the person that really that came through to me the first time around was what you might call an infamous person that blew me away. But it's going to be in my book, so I don't want to talk about that. I want to give the listeners the lessons that they need at this point in time in order to get unstuck. And I like that. You know, it's like, it's time to get unstuck. We all do that because we think it represents a level of security, like people that stay in a job for 25 years. It's kind of like, well, you have 1 year. You learn everything you need to learn in 1 year, and then you repeat it for 25 times more. So it's not 25 years experience. It's actually a 1 year experience. And in 25 years of it, it's like, okay, maybe it's time to get unstuck from there. And then they eventually if they don't get unstuck, even though they're getting this urge that they need to grow and move on and maybe set new goals, then what happens is they usually get fired.
Right, they get forced. Right, you get forced to make a change.
Yeah, and even that also applies to health. I noticed, too, that if we get stuck and we keep doing the same things over and over with health, we end up with the body screaming at us, and it's like, okay, you're not going to pay attention to me? Well, how about this? And then we end up having some major illness or a disease or something that manifests because the body needs attention, too. So it's mental, emotional, spiritual, physical. It's all four. So to me, I think, like Einstein said, if we keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results, that is the definition of insanity. So we have to really look at ourselves instead of just focusing on what's on the news and let's see, what we're going to have for dinner. And I think today I'll just watch TV. How about starting with the self? I believe that when we start our day with the self, getting aligned to something greater than ourselves, higher power, the universe, the source of love, the I am, spirit, I don't care what you call it. It is also God. We need to align with that source first. 9:15. And, oops, sorry, my computer, I got to turn it off. It talks to me. The source is what aligns us to love, and when we stay in that place, everything we want to change comes toward us because we become a magnet. So we don't just sit there and wait for things to happen. We have to take action. When I was going through all my study, it's like the old saying goes, God helps those who help themselves. So you get an idea from spirit through the right brain, which is intuition, which is what more people need to learn to use. And this is the stuff I teach just like you, how to switch over from the left brain to the right brain more so we get that direct conversation from the source. Once we get that information, then we receive ideas, then we take action. You can't wait and sit and meditate and expect things to manifest. That's just one part. Right. The other part is to take action, take the first step, and then it starts to happen.
Well, a lot of people ignore their intuition. And I always tell them, your intuition is your personal GPS system.
It is. It is. And it can't lie. It doesn't know how to lie. What lies to us is the left brain, and I call it the troublemaker and noise, white noise, because it incorporates our history, because it stores history. So it incorporates our own history emotionally and mentally and all the things we've been through, and then people get stuck because they're focused on the past. Therefore, in the present tense, they're focused in the past. And then tomorrow, since tomorrow's created by what's going on with us today, then tomorrow they're still going to be in the past because they haven't let it go. So what we have to do now is reset and say, from this moment on, I'm not going to label myself as not good enough or unworthy or a loser or incapable or my life is full of, struggle, and cancel all of that stuff because I don't want my brain to suck it in. The brain is very logical and it doesn't have a sense of humor. So when people say, that they're sick or this or that, you know what? It continues. It's time to start saying, I'm well, and I give thanks for all the healing, and I'm prospering, and I give thanks for the money that flows to me. And the worst question people can ask themselves to stay stuck is ask the question that starts with the word how. How is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? How is it going to manifest? or who's going to help me? Any question like that is really a bad question to ask, because that's none of our business. That's like planting seeds in the ground saying, well, I wonder how it's going to grow, or getting pregnant saying, well, I wonder how this baby is going to, become a person, or these cells, and the eggs and the sperm. How's that going to happen? Well, you know what? It does. So that's the universe takes over at that point. Mm-hmm. So anytime even if you're writing a book or something like this, I don't ask who's going to publish it, or is it going to be good. I don't ask any of those kinds of questions, because what they do is they get us into trouble. We end up in the right and the left brain, which starts telling us that we can't, or we're going to end up with obstacles, or it's going to be not worthy, and we're not worthy, and it's not going to manifest. What happens is then people don't live their dream, because they start telling themselves a story that is really all about lies.
Right.
When we connect to spirit, or this love, which I call it, then we know that we're worthy, and then that's when we become a magnet, and we attract what we want instead of not what we want. Mm. When we say how and will this or whatever, we disconnect at that point in time, and we need to stay connected. So that's like the first thing we need to do is, and then also allow yourself, if you want to activate the right brain more, there's a simple exercise you can do. Start shifting all your weight on your left side of your body, like if you're waiting in line to get checked out at a grocery store, start picking things up with your left hand. That is just a couple of really simple ways to activate the right brain. It's so simple.
Right. Well, when I give somebody a mantra, or some people tell me how they're talking or asking for what it is they desire or require, mm-hmm. I always tell them, even at the end of any mantra, to just say, I tell them, just include this little codicil. It doesn't matter how it happens.
Yeah.
Because people lock themselves down. It's like, well, I need, an extra $50 a week, and they focus on getting a raise for $50, which may or may not even be possible on their job.
Exactly.
Instead of just saying it doesn't matter how it happens, and just let the magic happen, because if it's for your best good, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But sometimes the things people ask for are not in their best good. It's not part of their journey here. It's not part of their Akashic journey on this planet.
Right.
And then they get really angry because what they think they want doesn't happen. But sometimes it's not for your best good.
Now, here's another part that I really enjoy paying attention to, and I have recently, since, I've been doing this work for so long, but we all go through our growing process. We all continue to learn. My mother always said, oh my God, it just went out my head.
That we all continue
the more
to
I
learn.
got it. The more you know that you don't know. So I just remember that, it's like when I go through stuff, it's so weird, because I go through something right before my next maybe 3 or 4 clients contact me who are going through the same thing, and then I have the solutions because I just went through it. So I'm like, oh, gee, that was fun. At least I have an answer for them. But it does work, and I don't ask how either, because it does get you into trouble. It keeps you stuck, So we have to really look at what we're thinking, because I find that this world is a real blessing. And why? Because it reflects back to us through our experience what we need to do to change on the inside, instead of saying, well, this happened to me, this person screwed me over, and this guy left me, and he was betraying me, and he was cheating on me, or she was like a real pain in the ass and a total bitch and stuff. You know what that's reflecting back? It's reflecting back how we treat ourselves. That's it. When people connect the dots that the outer reality is reflecting what's going on within, I always catch myself and say, thank you for that lesson, because it's not happening to me, it's happening for me.
Right.
So I think that when we look at it that way, we've connected a dot that this world is really loving, that it manifests exactly what we're thinking, feeling, saying, and believing, just as the source of love does the same thing. It never said no. If we're going to plant strawberries in the ground, it didn't say, no, you can't.
Right.
You can grow strawberries.
Yeah, but timing is everything. You can't plant strawberries in the winter. And people need to realize, timing is everything, and timing is very difficult to, anybody that says I can absolutely predict what's going to happen on a certain date.
That's wrong.
Is wrong. I mean, there's so many different interferences, different things that could happen, that could go wrong, and then you got to figure you could be affected by other timelines, other people, astrology. I mean, the list goes on and on.
On and on. It's so when people say, well, why do you call it a reading? I said, because I'm actually looking at a blueprint of what you've created with your thoughts, your beliefs, and your emotions of what's going on right now. It's a snapshot. But because of free will, you can expedite something or delay something from happening. So I usually end up predicting in a season rather than the month. You're really good at predicting like in the month. You're really acute in doing that very, very well, Maria, because I know I've had readings from you as well. And sometimes it's right on the money. Sometimes it's a couple weeks later, whatever. For me, I just give out the season. In the springtime, this is what I see happening for you because it gives them a leeway to utilize their free will. And like you said, those other distractions that can cause it to expedite or delay. So it's not a perfect science, but it's pretty damn close.
Well, when people ask me, how to explain, what is a reading, I just tell them what I do is I look at the blueprint they wrote out for their lifetime before they came here. So I'm able to see if they've accomplished what they came here to do, learned what they came here to do, what they can or can't do, to change it, to move forward, et cetera, et cetera. It's not that difficult because once they give you permission to do that, then you can access their Akashic records.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It's good that you brought that up as well. And in a life reading, you can also see when they come to a crossroads, when they're going to have to, like the fork in the road, so to speak, that shows up too. Right. Well, it looks like a decision's coming up for you as well because of this and this, And I find that even the use of numerology, that helps me with timing much more, and it gives me information that I'm able to then pinpoint it a lot closer. So I rarely do life readings, but I usually look for a person's theme, what they came here to do, major lessons, pinnacles, and I'm able to see if they're on, because they always say, I don't know what I'm supposed to do in life. What does God want me to do? It's like, God doesn't care.
Right. It doesn't matter. It's what you want to do. Right. You have to choose. But, I think we're so used to, as human beings, other people telling us what to do. Whether it was our parents, you should go to law school, you should do this, you should do that. Yeah. The education system, society, whatever. And the truth of the matter is people have forgotten, how powerful spirit beings they are to have manifested here on this planet at this particular time in history. And the fact is, they're just here to experience, Back in the day, everybody knew you came into this life to enjoy the physical because you don't have a physical body when you're not here. But then everybody seems to be obsessed with what's my mission? What's my mission? And I always think about Mission Impossible, but right before the tape would burn up at the end and say, you could choose to do this or not, but bam, this tape is expiring. There is no mission, okay? It's where we lived by a series of choices based on our intentions before we came here. I have some people that, listen, right now we just passed Valentine's Day. Yeah. And I know a lot of people get very depressed on Valentine's Day. Believe it or not, the hospitals are extra busy on Valentine's Day with depressed people, suicidal people, all kinds of crap. People that attack their ex-boyfriends. I mean, crazy stuff.
I've been hearing that lately.
Right, but the one thing that people don't think, and I posted it on my spiritual Facebook page, Worldwide Readings with Maria, on Valentine's Day. It's Valentine's Day. Do something nice for yourself. How many women will buy flowers for themselves? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I just posted something like that on Instagram today. And same thing, same message. Like we're thinking the same thing, as we always do.
Right.
One of the easiest ways to get unstuck is completely do the opposite of what you're doing. So write down the things that you think, things that you how you feel about yourself, things that you do, things you believe. Am I connected to Source today? And usually people try to control their own lives because they get so caught up in this physical world that they forget about their spirit, which is the one that lives forever. We lose the body, but the spirit lives forever, and people connect to that belief. It's like going to a dentist when all the damage is done.
Right. Right.
So do the opposite and and do it for 1 week, and then go right back to doing what you were doing before, and you're going to see just how quickly things change and manifest. Because people, well, how long is this going to take me? It seems like a lot of work. No, it actually, as soon as you change a thought and make a new decision, it changes the trajectory of your life, especially if you continue doing that every day. What would happen if we stopped brushing our teeth? Gross, huh?
All right.
So it's got to become a routine like that. You got to do it every day. And I always say, it only takes 5 minutes. You know, whatever words you want to use, call it a prayer or meditation. And you don't have to sit for 20 minutes and meditate either. You just take 5 minutes to A, connect to the source of love. B, be grateful for your blessings, including the ones that you don't have yet.
Right.
And then that's it.
All right.
So
and then get on with your day. You know, but you can also wake up and say, just for today, I'm going to be happy.
Yeah.
And, you know, you are starting your day with yourself. So your self-talk, even before you get out of bed, is important.
Yeah. And I have argument from people, well, isn't that selfish? And I'm like, no, it's necessary.
No, I call it self-love.
Exactly. And a lot of people keep, well, what is self-love? What does that look like? I said, well, you know it when you're happy, when you have harmony, when you're at peace, when you have joy in your life. You know what? The best place to get answers is to go out to nature. Like Maria, you live out where there's nature, right?
Right.
I've seen pictures of your surroundings, and they're just absolutely breathtaking. And I mean, I live in the country now, but I used to live on the coast. I moved here 8 months ago, but now these mountains are majestic, and it never snows here ever in California, but it did 2 weeks ago. So we had those mountains capped off with the white snow, and I said, that's the blessing here, are these amazing mountains.
Right.
Where before I was missing the ocean because I was getting a lot of energy from that. But you know what? You can go outside to your backyard, and if you have soil or grass, take your shoes off, take your socks off, and just let yourself stand over your grass or over the soil for 10 minutes and take in the love from Mother Earth.
Well, yeah,
and then
mountains.
as you're doing that, the sun's also giving you
Right.
a lot of wonderful things as well, too. I mean, how easy is that?
Right. Well, you know, Native Americans always refer to the mountains as the silent ones. And yesterday, I had to drive downtown, even though we had a blizzard here. So it was the first time I was on, which I happen to think is one of the most beautiful highways in the state, Highway 87, from Fountain Hills up to the mountains. It was the first time I saw it totally covered with snow. So here we are driving, and you can see what natives refer to the clouds when they sit on the top of the mountains. They say, oh, the Kachinas are having a conversation with the silent ones.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm looking at this, and I told my friend, I've never seen so much snow on this road, and it looks so gorgeous. And then you can, literally, you could see the sylphs in the air because there was those wispy fogs moving through, which, of course, are part of the Devic kingdom. And then you go all the way into where there, you know, all of a sudden there's thousands of saguaros. Mm-hmm. I have never taken that drive for granted. And every single time I say a silent little prayer in my head, thank you for giving me eyes to see this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Gratitude is so huge. A lot of people that go through a lot of financial stuff, I always tell them, look, if you go out to lunch with someone and they pick up the tab, in your mind say, thank you, bless you, 10 times 10 times 10. This was a nice gift for me that someone paid for my lunch. And people don't think about doing things like that.
No.
So I wondered, when you were talking about the mountains, it brought me back to an experience I had in Taos, New Mexico. There is a mountain there, and if the mountain doesn't like you, you leave. If the mountain likes you, it actually heals whatever's going on with you. And I was having major knee problems at the time. I was using a wheelchair to get to the airport at San Francisco International. When I got to Santa Fe, New Mexico, not Santa Fe, I'm sorry, Albuquerque, and then we drove all the way into Taos, that mountain was loving, and I was able to run. And when I got back to San Francisco, I was running through the airport. It just healed my knees. That's the first experience that I had with the healing of the power of the mountains. So that's why when I looked at where I live now and I said, look at these beautiful hills. Mm-hmm. I'm embracing them. And then I felt peace because I didn't want to live here.
Right. Right. But I told you were going there.
Well, you told me, yep, you're going into the country. You're not going to live on the coast anymore. I'm like, you're crazy. I love them. Why would I leave the ocean? And I ended up 34 miles away inland, so it's easy to get back to the beach. But this is the country. Look, I have to behave like a country girl now. I have to go out and buy 40-pound pellets for the stove. I have to buy 40-pound salt crystals for the water softeners. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Well, welcome to my world. But
I know.
people have forgotten that we are part of nature and that everything in nature talks, everything in nature is alive. Whether
Oh, yeah.
they're not speaking English. It's like expecting your dog or cat to talk to you in English. It's not going to happen. But everything is alive. I remember driving on that same highway through the saguaro forest, and I had a Native American girlfriend in the car with me. And she said, these saguaros are actually they're aliens, she says, and they all talk to each other like telephone poles connected
Oh,
to each other.
I love it.
So it's a great way to think about that. But I
Yeah.
look at them and I'm in awe of them because here you have a plant that looks so menacing and threatening from the outside, but even the state bird wouldn't exist without the saguaro. It's the only there are certain species of snakes and critters that can only live in the saguaro. And yet, with all their needles are there to protect their water on the inside. People might look at it as just, oh, this is so ugly and it's so treacherous because they don't understand the life that's happening inside and outside a simple tree. Let alone what goes on, people think the desert is desolate. There's so much life in the desert. It's unbelievable.
Oh, if you want to get answers, go to a place of nature. And now that you said the word tree, it just brought up this thought I have, because when I learned this a long time ago, I realized, my gosh, we take trees for granted. And, people were tree hugging at the time. Huh. And I started, I had a tree, my favorite tree was called Friend, and I used to hug her. And then I read something, before you hug a tree or get near it, ask for its permission. Mm-hmm. Tell it that you're a human, that they can sense that you're loved, you're coming from a good place, and that you want to hug it, and ask for permission, and you'll get the yes, you'll feel it on the inside. And then people go, well, why do you have to ask permission? I said, because there's people out there that cut these trees down, and trees can't move. They can't run.
Right.
So they end up getting cut, and they remember the axe, or they remember the chainsaw.
Right.
It hurts them.
Right.
So
and by their root system, they're connected to their children and all the other trees. But people don't, listen, unfortunately, the disconnect between man and nature, I hate to say it, comes from the Bible.
Amen.
And religion.
Amen.
And, Sun Bear used to say, who for my listeners don't know, was one of my rare and best teachers. He used to say, when I go to a country to bring rain because they've been in drought and I beseech the spirit keepers of rain, everybody thinks what I'm doing is supernatural. He said, but it used to be very natural for humans to communicate with all of nature, with all the elements. But we've had that taught out of us.
And Maria, it's all there and it's free.
I know.
You don't have to take a lot of seminars and, workshops and stuff unless you want to learn specific things. But ultimately, we all do everything for one reason, to have peace of mind. Everything. Even if you buy a new car, it makes you happy, which gives you a sense of peace and makes you happy and joy. You know what? It's really important to start off the day to create your own peace. And then you become a magnet to attract exactly what you need and want, including people, including things, whatever. It just happens all by itself. And that's why you were saying you have to ask how. It just shows up.
Just say it doesn't matter how it happens. I mean, that's how I do it. That's how I talk to the universe, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And I think when you limit the universe, which is limitless, you hurt yourself. And I think humans have, been so convinced that they're powerless and disconnected that they feel that way. I have no sense of purpose. I'm depressed every day I get out of bed. What's the point in being alive? I hear this, luckily I don't hear it too often, but I do hear it. And then you have the other people that say, bad shit always happens to me. And they don't realize that they call that to themselves.
And that's what you manifest. I remember reading this one line that said, it's done unto you as you believe. And it's like, yeah. So I see the universe as like my own personal genie sometimes, like asking you shall receive.
Right.
But then seeking you shall find, and knocking it shall be opened unto you. I like those three lines because they're actually very true. So even though the scripture has a bunch of bullshit in it, there's some truth in there as well.
Oh, yeah, there's some nice poetry if you can get into it.
Yeah, I like that. And 1 Corinthians chapter 12 talks about, the definition of spirit, prophets exist, healers exist. If you just want to look at it, it talks about the gifts that we have. And these gifts are real, and they're not like, oh, it's work of the devil. That's how some of my family used to accuse me of doing the work of the devil. Yet they were giving their money to Tammy Faye Baker or husband Jim Baker. I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes you more spiritual, doesn't it?
Tammy.
I used to say, with PTL, remember that was called PTL? I used to say it stood for Pay the Lady.
Pay the lady with the running mascara. All right, we're going to take a short break. Stay with us. Monica and I will be right back.
Hi, this is Monnica Sepulveda of Wake Up with Meria and Monnica. You can hear us every second Tuesday of the month. We offer you solutions and tools to help raise your own vibratorial frequency. And as we stay in this light of love, we shift ourselves and the planet shifts by itself. No reason to react to the negativity that's going on this planet when we're all so powerful. So why not use it every morning when you wake up? Actually, I'm doing this promotion for selfish reasons. I just got to tell you that Meria is probably the best. No, I know. She's the best intuitive reader I have ever met in my life, and she's underpaid. Check out her prices and check out mine. There's differences. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm a medium. I contact people who've passed on. But this woman is incredibly accurate with her predictions. I've never met anybody so gifted. She's so wonderful as a friend, and I'm humbled to be on her show. Thank you so much, Meria. Sorry I had to plug you here, but I just have to brag about you. You're that good. Take care, everyone, and make it a great day. Bye.
Hi, this is Maria Heller. If you're enjoying this show, please consider listening to the rest of it, along with hundreds of other hours of education, by a small subscription on my site. Get over to meria.net, meria.net. You are the only thing that supports this show. There's no corporate control, and there's plenty of education on site. So please consider either a subscription or a donation to keep the work going. There are too many alternative voices out there that are being silenced because of lack of support. So if you don't want MSM to be the only mind-controlling news out there, please consider supporting the people that support you and help us all save something for the future for our children. Thank you so much.